Welcome. We are living in a time where it is very difficult to stay grounded, and a little extra inner resourcing can really help. So, you are welcome to listen to this video once and leave it behind. You're welcome to not use it at all. You're welcome to listen to it multiple times as a formal guided practice, or you're welcome to just take the practice into your daily life, either in your own meditation or just as small moments throughout the day. And I'll give you some guidance on how to do that. I'm not going to be doing anything visually during this time. So if you'd like to close your eyes, feel free at any point. And whether you have a lot of meditation experience or none at all, this is a very simple, accessible practice. And it's a grounding practice that I like to start with. And so it's best done sitting. If you are standing or lying, that's okay. But this particular practice is best done sitting. And what I like to do when I sit for meditation is just bring the teeniest bit of attention into my posture. You don't need to be rigid and formal, but you do want to try to create a bit of a vertical axis. So you can kind of spread out your sitting bones a little bit. You can really anchor down and feel the seat of the chair or the seat of the floor beneath you. You can place your feet wide in an intentional stance, or you can cross your legs. There's no right meditation practice. The idea is to bring awareness into the body and a little bit of verticality. So usually we're either slumped or we're really leaning forward, kind of with the anxiety of a forward facing world. And so the ideal meditation posture is just slightly leaning back, not to the way that you feel cantilevered, but just so your body kind of has to engage a little bit to stay vertical. And you can just give yourself a few deep breaths. And even just the simple act of bringing your attention to your breath is a worthy meditation practice that you could stay with for years. Here, we're just going to use breath awareness for the first couple minutes to bring ourselves into our bodies. So, particularly in an academic arena where so much is happening in our minds, that taking a few deep breaths, accentuating the inhale and accentuating the exhale can really kind of bring the attention a little bit lower in the body. And eventually that's what we're doing today is we're working on bringing our awareness, our attention, our energy lower. And this kind of grounding practice can serve you really well in moments of anxiety when the energy tends to go up, or in moments of just kind of constitutive low grade stress where we're kind of in our heads worrying about the past or the future. So take a few deep breaths. I'm going to close my eyes as well. And imagine that you could let those first breaths really serve as a way to reduce physical strain. So there's just naturally going to be places in your body that are a little extra tensed. They might be places where you hold tension and stress over the long term. They might be places that just don't feel great today. But go ahead and on your exhale, imagine that you could release any of the physical strain that is ready to go. You're still going to have aches and pains. You're still going to have areas of tension, but the idea is just to release a little bit with the exhale. And then imagine on the next few exhalations that you can kind of elongate the exhalation and release any emotional tension that's built up from this day, this week, this month, this year. You don't have to go deep here, just release anything that's ready to soften. You can just imagine that the emotions that are running high that you don't need to attend to just for the next few minutes could just drain away a little bit in the exhalation, like a bathtub that's just emptying some of the water. And then finally, imagine that with the next few exhalations, you could release any mental tension, any thoughts that are clamoring for you to attend to them, any worries about the future. Just imagine that all of your mental activity could kind of settle for a few minutes. It's not that you're getting rid of anything that you're going to need later. You're just like a snow globe, letting all that material settle. And emphasize here to yourself that there's no way to do this correctly or incorrectly. These sets of breaths, first to release physical tension, second to release emotional tension, and third to release mental tension, are just a way of reminding your body that you have some sovereignty. That yes, you've got pains. Yes, you've got worries. Yes, you've got hard and deep feelings, but that there's something, you, that is beneath all of that, that all of that is happening inside of. And this is just a way to soften and come a little bit into yourself. And even this simple practice of taking a few deep breaths and on the exhale, releasing tension in your body is itself a really beautiful standalone meditation practice. If you ever want to just use that, you can do it while you're standing in line. You can just take 3 breaths and soften in. And what we'll do today is use that little foundation of coming into our bodies, into our breath, to establish a little bit more of a formal grounding. So I want you to imagine that you could bring all of your awareness in to the top of your head. You can either imagine everything coming into the crown of your head or everything coming into your forehead, but just imagine that you could bring all of the swirling mass of thoughts in. And then imagine that you could put them on a little elevator that was going down. And so we're starting to just bring our awareness in and then starting to let the awareness come down. And don't overthink the word awareness. It's simply your attention. Instead of having your attention out, which is what we usually do, right? We're using our senses to get information from outside of ourselves. We're using our minds to think about the past or the future. And so just bringing that attention in is a phenomenal aspect of a short meditation practice. So you're coming in, and imagine that you could just track downwards with your attention, starting in the top of your head and letting all of that energy go down through your skull, behind your eyes, behind your ears, softening your jaw, relaxing your throat. And if you find places where it's really hard to continue past, you can feel free to just take an extra breath there. See if you can exhale and soften a little bit, and then let that elevator of attention continue down. Down through your chest, through your lungs, through the sides of your rib cages, through your back body, through your belly. And again, pausing and softening as you need to. And then down into your pelvis. Like the elevator through your body comes to rest in the bowl of your pelvis. Your belly softens, and that's as far as this plumb line can descend in your own body. But what we want to do now is continue that plumb line down through our pelvis and imagine that we could send that little elevator, that little grounding cord, all the way down through our body, through our pelvis, through our sitting bones, or through our feet, depending on what is in alignment for you right now physically, and into the ground, the literal ground beneath us. The incredible, ever-present stillness of the planet. Even though our planet is moving very quickly, we experience it as ground, as solid, as stable. And we want to connect ourselves to that because we don't feel solid and stable all the time. We are moving and changing all the time. And if we can actually connect to the energy of the planet, this solid, stable feel beneath our feet. That can actually provide a little bit of grounding. And in this case, I want you to actually imagine that you have a physical cord that's connecting your body down through the center of your pelvis, down into the very center of our planet. Give this cord, this grounding cord, a personalized feeling. Just imagine it. Is it a thick burlap cord or is it a thin golden chain? It doesn't matter what the visual is, or even if it's not a picture in your mind, just a feeling. Imagine that you could create a grounding cord and personalize it. And let that grounding cord not feel restrictive, not like you are anchored in a way that's going to constrain you or constrict you, but that you are physically supported by something larger, deeper, and more stable than you could be just on your own. And I want you to practice kind of reeling this grounding cord in and then setting it back down. So even if it feels a little abstract, just go with the image of it. So pull your grounding cord up and then do the whole process again, but in a more simple way. Your energy comes in and it goes down, and you exhale a connection, a cord that connects you to the earth. Exhale down and imagine yourself grounded. And before we linger here in this grounding for a moment, I want you to convince yourself that you can reestablish grounding at a moment's notice anytime you need to. So it may not be that something has knocked you off axis. It may just be that it occurs to you, oh, I'd like to have more grounding right now. Or it might be that something really dramatic has happened and really spun you out. Regardless, pull that grounding cord up one more time and then give yourself a simple one breath cycle to reestablish it. Inhale, bring your attention in. And exhale, let all of that attention release down and establish a cord of connection between your body and the center of the earth. So now I want you to find a way that works for you to kind of deepen that connection. It might be that you really like the visual imagery of having a cord and you want to kind of feel that cord, imagine it, personalize it, imagine it growing in strength and connection and warmth. Imagine the earth supporting you and nourishing you. It might be that the image of a cord doesn't work so well for you, but you really like the feeling physically of your feet on the ground or your sitting bones in the chair. It might be that you really enjoy the feeling of growing more solid yourself, feeling just the weight of the body, the weight of the hands on the knees, the weight of the legs on the ground. And it might be that you just like the feeling of the exhale, of releasing, softening. Whichever of these resonate for you, just spend a few minutes relaxing into it. We are so accustomed to kind of getting the idea of something and moving on very quickly. And really, the point of meditation is to invest in the muscle of staying, of deepening, of being present and letting whatever experience you're having be valid. So if you're working on exhaling, feeling grounded, feeling a cord of connection, but your thoughts are swirling or your emotions are chaotic or your body is uncomfortable, that is fine. The whole point here is that grounding is not mutually exclusive to human experience. You don't need to be absent of pain, frustration, anxiety, trauma in order to be grounded. You don't need to wait for all of those things to go away in order to inhale your attention into yourself and exhale your attention down. You don't need any perfection in your external or internal life to do a few minutes of a grounding practice. And this is very powerful because what it means is that grounding is no longer mutually exclusive to a regular daily human life. It can be both and. And the more you cultivate a little bit of grounding in your daily life, the more it gives you the resourcefulness to be blown by the wind, to be rocked by emotions and experiences and challenges and pains, because there's kind of somewhere to come back to. And in fact, if you have something particular that's niggling at you right now, an anxiety you just can't let go of, a discomfort in your body that's really strong, imagine sending it down the grounding cord. Imagine sending it down into the center of the planet. Imagine taking that which is burdening you and sending it down into the magma center, hot, fiery burning of the planet, and let it be transformed there for a moment. And you could use this as a kind of releasing practice of just taking things that are worries and just letting them go down into the earth, give them a place. It's not like an avoidance practice where you're burying something. It's that you're actually consciously releasing some personal energy or stress into a greater support system. And if you want to, you can always call it back up afterwards, after it's spent a little time kind of transforming in the heat of the center of the planet. Even if this is just an image or a metaphor, you can call it back up and see if that feeling or that experience has changed its quality a little bit. It doesn't mean you're not going to have the same challenge or the same thought or the same emotion, but often sending something down your grounding cord and then calling it back up, even if it's very quickly, can kind of take the charge off, take the edge off, give you just a little more space to breathe, a little more feeling of support. I think almost all of us feel profoundly alone at times in our life. And it may be more than just at times. It may be a very pervasive feeling. And so cultivating inner connection and cultivating connection with something physical, even if it's a planet, can be incredibly soothing to the nervous system. This doesn't mean that we don't also crave human connection and love and all of the things that we might find nourishing and soothing in our lives. But it means that when we don't have those things accessible, we have a way of going in. So I encourage you just to take a few more minutes here, as long as you like. And every exhale, you can just kind of reestablish that connection with the ground. And if you want to just focus on the grounding exhales, that's great. If you want to add a little bit of lift on the inhales, that's also great. It's kind of a natural outgrowth of being grounded, is you actually have the ability to rise up, to grow. And you can play with that marriage of dichotomies, that you can actually be grounded and lifted at the same time. Just like you can breathe in and breathe out. in the same couple moments. And you're welcome to stay here and continue the similar practice of just feeling grounded, releasing on the exhale, feeling connected to the earth, or you're welcome to wrap up either way. But I'd invite you to do two things whenever you're ready to complete this meditation. The first is that I'd invite you to come out of the meditation slowly, whether it's now or 10 minutes from now. Give yourself time to start deepening the inhales, to start giving your body the signal that you're going to kind of move back into a normal sensory oriented way of being. You can wiggle your fingers and toes, you can stretch out, and you can really listen to what it is you want as you're coming out of a formal grounding practice. It's fine if it's time to go on and do something else, but often these moments after a meditation are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than when you're in the meditation, because you're receptive. You're receptive to what your system actually wants and needs. So if your system says something like, hey, it'd be great to do whatever right now, or not do whatever right now, take the risk of listening and see what it feels like to just move a little more slowly into the next part of your morning or your afternoon or your evening. And the second invitation is to use this practice as often as you want and to make it as short as you want. I will often do this grounding practice in 2 breaths only. It might be that I'm waiting in line for someplace and feeling distracted. It might be that I'm reaching for my phone, but don't really have anything that I was going to do. It might be that I'm feeling anxious after a difficult interaction, but a simple 2-breath practice can very quickly reestablish this grounding. So you can inhale yourself in, and that can be in your crown of your head and do the whole elevator down thing. It could be into your chest. It can be anywhere. You can just inhale yourself in like a vacuum cleaner, kind of sucking all of your attention into your system, and exhale yourself down. Feel your feet, your legs, your sitting bones. Drop that anchor, that grounding cord. And if you start doing this even a few times every day, it'll start establishing kind of an inner pattern, an inner route that your attention can travel. So I invite you to move slowly for the next few minutes. I invite you to try this grounding practice out in the world, in your daily life. And I hope you have a wonderful next few days. Be well.